Some brands offer you low finance, or cashback, or servicing.
Renault don't do ors. We do ands. The Renault Kadjar with 1.91% APR and €1,000 cashback and 3 years servicing, saving you thousands. Renault, the brand with the ands. Visit your local Renault dealer. Finance is made under a hire purchase agreement. Terms and conditions apply. Deposit required. Subject to lending criteria. See Renault.ie.
Listening to Coffee with Kenobi, you are. With Dan Z, the podcast you're looking for. This is... yes.
Previously on Coffee with Kenobi.
My next one is going to be Creepy Anakin. So... Hayden Christensen in this role is so creepy. And it's only as an adult now rewatching it that you understand how inappropriate his behavior is with Padme. And just how, like, there are red flags throughout this movie. This movie should be like Star Wars, red flags everywhere.
This is Vanessa Marshall, Harrison Dula from Star Wars Rebels, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi.
Mark Von Olen, I'm telling you, that guy needs to get a podcast of his own. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Coffee with Kenobi, show number 149. We are your spoiler-free place for Star Wars discussion, analysis, rhetoric, and the best travel tips this side of the galaxy. I'm your host, Dan Z, drinking One Nation coffee out of my official Coffee with Kenobi mug, which you can find on our website, www.coffeewithkenobi.com. Coffee with Kenobi is brought to you by MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. For all of your travel needs to the Disney theme parks and cruise lines, as well as anywhere you want to go on vacation, be sure to go to www.mousefantravel.com, the travel agency, the official travel agency of Coffee with Kenobi. On CWK, I invite you to join me as we think about the mythology of Star Wars in a whole new way and maybe laugh a little bit in the process. You are here with your Star Wars family as we go to our favorite coffee shop and talk some Star Wars. On today's very special show, Amy Ratcliffe joins us for an interview to discuss her brand new book, Star Wars, Women of the Galaxy. It's a fantastic book that has just come out this week, and you're going to want to grab it. And Amy shares some insights on the writing process, sort of how she came up with certain topics and characters, the collaborative efforts, and what this book means to her. It's a wonderful interview. We've had Amy on many times, and naturally she's a member of the Coffee with Kenobi family. But this is just an extra special one. I'm really just continually impressed with her, so be sure to check that out. And then after that interview, we have an excerpt from the live feed that Tom Gross and I did from our Star Wars Reads Day event at the school where we teach. So pull up a chair, grab your favorite coffee mug, and let's have some coffee with Kenobi.
And now, let's see what's brewing in the Star Wars universe this week.
I do want to jump right into my interview with Amy Ratcliffe, author of Star Wars Women of the Galaxy, and of course the co-host of Lattes with Leia. But before I do that, and I know it's really early, but Star Wars Celebration will be here in April, which is amazing. And I'm not going to say yet what we've got going on, but we've got some amazing things planned for Star Wars Celebration in April in Chicago, of course, April 11th to the 15th. So be on the lookout for some pretty exciting information from Coffee with Kenobi that involves Star Wars Celebration Chicago. I definitely think it's going to be something you're interested in.
So who talks first? You talk first? I talk first?
Joining us today for a cup of coffee is the author of Star Wars Women of the Galaxy, Amy Ratcliffe.
Hello, Dad. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
You are welcome. So I was kind of going through the mental Rolodex because I knew I was going to have you on the show. And you and I mean, okay, so this is as far back as I can remember. So you were one of the first people to come on the show. It was you and I and Corey and Trisha Barr, and we talked about Kenobi.
John Jackson. Gosh, that's right.
Yeah. And that was the first time I'd ever actually talked to you. And of course, you were super cool right away. And then we just sort of casually chatted, as all Star Wars fans do. And then at Indiana Comic-Con, the first one they ever did, I found out, I think maybe 24 hours before I was going, that you were going to be there. And so I contacted you. And then you and I and Corey and then Tom Gross, actually, before he became a mainstay on the show, met up and we hung out and we just had the best time. And basically the reason I'm bringing this up is between that to me reaching out to you and Dre and then starting Lattes with Leia, and then you guys taking that show and just blowing up the internet with how awesome that is. And now you're writing this book. The reason I'm bringing this up, Coffee with Kenobi family members, is that Amy is done so many wonderful things in fandom, and she does it all with humility and grace. And I'm just constantly impressed with how you carry yourself through all this. And thank you for being such a good example.
Oh my gosh, you make me tear up a little. That's very kind, and I really appreciate it. And just try to keep in mind, like we're all just fans. We're all just nerding out about this fictional universe we love at the end of the day, in whatever way we can, whether it's podcasting or writing or making costumes. So we're just all connected. Star Wars is great.
It is. It's true. Well, it's just fun for me. And this book, Amy, is an absolute blast. And I want to hear about your impressions of certain sections in the book, of course. But to me, as a writer and as an educator, I like knowing the metacognitive approach. Like I like knowing how the book came to be and sort of how you attacked it. So tell us kind of how it was when you first found out about this book, and then how you kind of made your outline of what you needed to do to make it happen.
It was surreal to get the email about this book and to even be considered to write a Star Wars book, let alone a book that celebrates 75 female characters. Like I can't imagine like a something I would have wanted to write more for my first book. And I submitted samples first off. Like I talked to my editor at Chronicle, and he's like, "Are you interested?" And I'm like, "Duh, obviously." And I submitted samples, and then Chronicle and Lucasfilm spent some time with those. And once I got thankfully approved, we had to work on a pretty quick timeline. I think the first draft was due in about 7 weeks from when I got the approval. So I took those 75 characters. Yeah, it was fast. So I took those 75 characters, like, and did some math and divided out, like, okay, if I do this many per day, this many of the ones I could do, because at that point I could work up to The Last Jedi, and then I would have to wait a little while to learn enough about Solo and Star Wars Resistance. So I did the math. I'm like, okay, these are the ones I can get done. This is how much time I have to do it. I don't remember exactly how many it was per day, but I'm like, I need to get this many per day done, ideally. And I made a spreadsheet to keep track of just everyone that had to be done. I grouped them in different colors by like, okay, all the Clone Wars characters are this color. All the Last Jedi characters that I don't know about yet are this, I really got as organized as I could because I love spreadsheets. And then it was diving into research, and that was challenged because I like Star Wars a little. So it was, I'm going to go pull this like fact from a behind the scenes book or a making of book, I'm going to want to sit and read that entire book.
Well, yeah, there is a rumor that you do like Star Wars a little, and I'm glad you've confirmed that for us.
Yeah, just get that out in the open.
Yeah, to talk about the research, I mean, obviously you've got a pantheon of books, and you probably did look up some things online, but that had to be, people say, isn't that kind of like homework? Well, yeah, but it's the best kind of homework ever. It's a blast because you're diving into what you love. And you also, through the process of writing, you also learn more things about what you love than you would have instead of just reading it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you're kind of looking at it in a new way and you're recording it in a different way. So because I have a terrible memory. So there'd be things that I'm like, I'm pretty sure this happens in the Star Wars comic. But then after you write, you're like, okay, now you know what? I say that. I'm like, I don't remember what issue it was now. So some of it sticks. But it was definitely like thinking back to my school years and like writing the paper and looking up each character, thinking about kind of their biggest moments, their core personality traits, what I think of things like sometimes like what they're if they were playing Dungeons and Dragons, like if they were those kind of characters, what would their alignment be like? Are they lawful good? Are they chaotic neutral?
That's cool.
Just a way I kind of sort things out. And then I would just take extensive notes and go back and pull up. I just made piles of Star Wars graphic novels and behind the scenes books around my apartment, and rewatched, having digital copies of the Star Wars movies and having access to Clone Wars on Netflix made pulling up scenes and episodes so much easier than popping in Blu-rays. And it was just kind of trying to find a way to take all that information that I compiled, because I try to compile it the same way for every character, and then turning it into some sort of biography that was not exhaustive, because the book would have been so long if we would have done everything, but something that kind of captured, kind of like a highlights reel is how I thought of it.
Yeah, no, I think that's a pretty awesome description, because it's like it's not an encyclopedia. It's so much more than that. It's almost like you're walking through this wonderful museum of Star Wars information and character. Because the reason I say that, and I've already read it, and I mean it's so fantastic. You. Oh my gosh, thank you for writing it, and I'm very fortunate that the Chronicle was kind enough to send me an advance copy, and it's great because I love the approach, because you talk. The challenge, I think, with writing a Star Wars book is you've got a lot of different layers. You've got people who are very casual fans. You've got people who know all about the lore. You've got people who like to be really, really pedantic, and I'm counting myself among them. And so you have found a voice for this book that meets everybody, because you're talking. It's like you're talking to friends and teaching them and filling in the gaps in their knowledge. Because I mean, I certainly know a thing or two about that galaxy far, far away, but the way the way that it's explained and the way you present it is fantastic. So let's look at this layout, because obviously you've got incredible original artwork. And so how did that work? Did you have everything written and then they drew based on your words, or how did that work out?
That's basically what happened. And I also want to say thank you very much, because that's kind of the tone I wanted to hit, was to try to reach all kinds of fans and just do it in a celebratory way.
Yeah, it's got to be daunting. You nailed it.
And thank you. My editor would joke that he felt like he was going to Star Wars class with Professor Ratcliffe. And I'm like, that's the best compliment you could ever.
That is awesome. Yes, that is awesome.
But so they based it, I think they kind of had an idea of outline, and it was definitely a puzzle for Chronicle to, I think, figure out how to lay out the artwork and on which pages and how that was going to work. And I don't envy them that task, or even figuring out the layout. So I turned in, the bulk of my first draft when I could, and they kind of knew what I would still have to turn in for Solo and Star Wars Resistance page-wise. Mm-hmm. And they built the layout off that and kind of just left spaces for those characters. And I think they did a gorgeous job figuring out how to incorporate the art, how to incorporate the text, how to use call out, because I pulled out a lot of quotes for each character as kind of their own sort of call boxes.
A calling card, yeah.
Yeah. So I think they handled tying all that together in a really beautiful way. And they came up with things like, you have a character name and a quote, and then the character's name is an Orabesh. And yes, that was all Chronicle, doing the, or I'm like, oh, yes, that's a genius. Great idea. Good job. So I think they did a remarkable job kind of tying the whole package together. And then the art is...
It's stunning.
Right? It's just incredible. I cannot get over how gorgeous it is.
Did they get you any of the copies of the original art for you to have for your own?
No, and I tried to think. I'd be very curious to know.
You should totally request some.
I should, because I'd be curious to know how have like art, physical art, and how many of the artists work digitally. Because I know a lot of the ones I've met, they were strictly on, their computers.
Sure. Very good point. I wonder, though, if there's anything that they could do maybe to print off a really cool copy and autograph it. I don't know. That'd be so fun. Let's go ahead and take our first break here. When we come back, we will chat more with Amy about Star Wars Women of the Galaxy. This is Coffee with Kenobi.
This is Coffee with Kenobi.
Just when you thought you couldn't get enough jokes about circus peanuts for Halloween candy, Coffee with Kenobi CWK Pour-Over has you covered. This week on our CWK Pour-Over, which is our exclusive show available to Coffee with Kenobi Patreon contributors, which you can find at www.patreon.com/coffeewithkenobi. We talk about Halloween and our favorite candies, how we feel about scary movies, some of our favorites, and then great stories about growing up in those awesome Halloween costumes that we had as kids. It's great fun. I shared a very small clip last week on show number 148, but on this week's show, I'll give you more of an extended preview of our conversation about Halloween. Here it is.
Yeah.
What are your favorite candies for Halloween? We won't get into.
I'm a classic candy guy. I gotta go like Reese's peanut butter cups and like Snickers, Milky Ways. There's so much candy nowadays. I think there's different flavors. There's sour this, sour that. I'm a huge Sour Patch Kid fan. I like that.
Those are good.
But as a kid, I would always go for the. You're still laughing at this.
You're laughing at those nasty circus peanuts. Mason's like, "Do you want a circus peanut, Daddy?" No. I thought you loved me, son.
No, rather have to punch me in the face instead. That's do that, son.
I like. I mean, I guess you get those. When you get like when you open up that pack of those Hershey little Halloween candy things, you're like, oh cool, I've got the Mr. Good bar, I've got the crackle, and then you get the dark chocolate, and you're like,
I love dark chocolate.
Another fun conversation between myself, Tom, and Corey talking about silly, crazy things on Halloween, and just sort of, how it is when you're with your friends, crazy, silly things happen that you wouldn't normally expect, and your friends just get you, and they bring out that really silly side of you. And I hope that's how you feel when you listen to CWK Pour-Over, as well as Coffee with Kenobi, of course. I want you to feel like you're part of the conversation, because you absolutely are, and it does not happen without your Patreon contribution. So if you want to hear the show, again, it's $5 or more a month, and you have access to now 29 different shows out there. They're about a half hour long. They're released every Sunday, and they are a ton of fun. In addition to that, on CWK Patreon page, you can get t-shirts, coffee mugs, phone cases, and so much more. So be sure to go to www.patreon.com/coffeewithkenobi to find out how you can start listening today. Well, see, the thing also, and there are, of course, a number of Star Wars books out there of various degrees and different genres, so to speak. But this one could have been intimidating, but it isn't. It's kind of like warm, if that makes sense, because it welcomes you in. It's in alphabetical order by character, but it's got stunning artwork. Sometimes just one image, and for bigger characters like Leia or Rey or Ahsoka, there are more images out there. Mm-hmm. Were there certain ones? I mean, they're all stunning, definitely stunning. But were there certain ones that just kind of took your breath away?
Oh, it was such a treat to start to get rough sketches of the art, because that was, again, they started working on that after I did my first draft. And I think my editor just kind of knew somehow when I needed a pick-me-up, and he would send me some sneak peeks of artwork, and I just could not believe it. And like you said, I think they're all amazing pieces, but I remember the daughter was one I saw early on. And of course, I'm spacing right now on which artist did that, because there are 18 artists, and I haven't looked through the book enough times because I'm intimidated by it a little. I'm like, oh, this is real. It exists. But right. I love the Clone Wars so much, and the Mortis trilogy is one of my very favorites. So to have that artwork of the daughter that kind of has a little bit of the sun in it, but it evokes so much, I feel like, and all the art of the character's personality, and like that image of the daughter, like I feel like it glows with light. And of course, some of that I'm bringing to the illustration, but I think the artist did such a good job capturing moods.
That is actually one that I mean, it sounds like I'm being hyperbolic, but I'm not. I actually gasped aloud when I got to that page. It's on page 57, and I'm looking at the back to try to tell who illustrated this one. I'm going to keep looking, but yeah, it's great because it's got that nice contrast of darkness and light. In some of the characters we have a lot of information. I mean, obviously with Leia, there's a ton of stuff out there. The daughter, there's not much. So you have to try to figure out how to balance what's out there. And you also have to be mindful, of course, of making sure you put down what's already out there and not sort of stepping into the speculation ripple that could kind of go crazy on the internet. I'm sure a lot of that has to do with editing. Plus, you're certainly been in these waters enough to know kind of where that line is too. And I think it came across really well.
Thank you. That was definitely something I was nervous about, like not editorializing, not putting too much of my like interpretation of Star Wars in there. So I could like highlight a character and point out what they've done and what they mean, but without, I mean, I'm story group would have caught it anyway, but without accidentally making something canon, basically.
Right.
Oops.
Great power, right? With great power comes great responsibility, that sort of thing. So there's 75 characters. Did you come up with the list, or did you guys all compile it together, or how did that work?
It was a collaborative process for sure, with Chronicle and Lucasfilm doing most of the heavy lifting, but they were kind enough to listen to suggestions from me, or just in like thoughts about, for example, like Aunt Beru was in there, and just kind of thoughts about like characters like that. Like, okay, like how much can I realistically write about Aunt Beru, given what we've seen of her on screen and briefly and from a certain point of view. And then there were other characters, you know, I fell hugely in love with this character named Urla Pitus, or Pittus, I'm not sure how you say it, but from the Cantil Bite collection of short stories. And that came out, I think, in like November-ish of last year. And like I was at a meeting at Lucasfilm in December, and I'm just like, I really feel strongly about this character. Can we please put her in? And they let me, which was nice. So there was some back and forth like that, but they were at least open to hearing my thoughts on, even if they didn't, you know, if they already had something else in mind, or they were really kind about that though.
Sure. And that entry is actually the page after the daughter, which is pretty wild. So how about this? Obviously, I know that Ahsoka is your very favorite, and we've talked about that both on the show and face to face, and it's in your introduction as well. But which one was maybe the most daunting to write about?
100% Leia Organa.
I wondered about that. Yeah, tell me why.
It was interesting too. I think she was one of the samples, if I remember right, one of the samples I submitted, just to kind of, when we were trying to get a feel like for tone and how we were going to do this. And then I put her aside. Like at first I'm like, well, I need to see The Last Jedi. I need to see what's going on there. And then I just kept putting it off because it's Leia and it's Carrie Fisher, and I respect. I respect and am inspired by. That's where I respire. That's my.
It's a good word.
For that.
It's a good word. It's canon.
Oh boy. Oh no. But both of those women, you know, one fictional and one very real. They mean a lot to me. They mean a lot to fandom, and they mean a lot to the story of Star Wars. And that's just not something you want to screw up. And you don't, like, it was hard. I didn't want to leave anything out, because even though for all the characters, I tried to be like, okay, like these are kind of those watershed moments, or these cornerstone pieces of their story. Like with Leia, I felt like it was everything.
Mm-hmm.
And from when she was a teenager, like in Leia, Princess of Alderaan, I loved that book so much, and learning that she was just like, I'm getting involved in this, to her parents, her adopted parents, whether whether you like it or not, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to help you out in the rebellion. Before it was even officially a rebellion. I just wanted to put everything in there, from every comic, from every novel, and I tried to work in as much as I could so that maybe people who have only seen the films know that you can read a lot more of Leia's stories in these other mediums. But yeah, that one was just and it's weird too. Like Rey, I think, was one of the easiest characters.
Oh, really?
And I don't know for sure why, but Leia was scary.
No, I get that. In fact, I remembered we talked at the beginning of this about Indiana Comic-Con. I remember we were sitting around, and we had told you that we met Carrie Fisher, through that line, and we were encouraging you. You got to try. You got to do it. You got to do it. And I think you were pretty much had your mind made up anyway. But then you went, and then you had the glitter experience.
Yes. Once I saw people were getting blessed by glitter, like that was the final straw. I was like, this is what I need in my life. And that's the only time I met Carrie Fisher. So I'm grateful that I talked with you all, and I'm grateful that I did it, because it's funny. I was just organizing some comics. I had her sign a Princess Leia comic, and I just came across that recently.
Well, that's cool. Well, in hearing you talk about, I had a feeling you were going to say Leia. And I get that. It's in a sort of a similar vein. I don't know if it's exactly the same, but the one book that I feel intimidated to teach is Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. It's because I hold it with such high respect and high regard, and I just know it's so important and multifaceted, and I'm enamored with it. And I think that's probably a fair way to say that you feel about Carrie Fisher and Leia Organa Solo, and just everything about her. I mean, it's arguably the most important entry in this book, and it had a smile on my face the entire time that I was reading it.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, so that was the most daunting. Was there anything that when you were writing it, you just weren't sure how it was going to come across? And we have those moments as writers, but then when you saw it in the book, you thought, okay, that was so much better than I thought it would have been.
Well, I've been scared to read the book. Like, I got my advanced copy, and I was like, called my editor because he's like, call me, and I did. And then I put it on my shelf and didn't look at it for a couple of weeks because I'm like, I was so nervous.
Sure.
And I still kind of am. And I don't like to listen to myself after I record. I don't like to see myself in video. And it's kind of the same thing, but there was a couple that I peeked at because, Cammy Marstrap is in the book, and she wasn't in A New Hope except for deleted scenes.
Right.
And then she was in the radio drama, and then, to my surprise, she was at the end of the Last Jedi novelization. I was like, oh, maybe that's why they wanted her to be in this book. But anyway, not a whole lot to say about Cammy.
That was a stunning image too, by the way.
Right? That art is gorgeous.
That one was eye-popping. I mean, there's a lot of great stuff in here, but that one was really, really marvelous. As was the image of Connix on page 94. That one's pretty fantastic as well. There's just, we could talk about every section here. And I'm looking forward to not only seeing everyone's reactions to this book, but hearing your other interviews and other things. I saw you got to be on with Jessica Chobot. That's pretty awesome.
Oh yeah, though that's just because of work. We both work at Nerdist, and
sure, but still, I mean that's like kind of a mountaintop experience. I mean, she's been, a pioneer in this field for a long time, and then I get to see one of my favorite people, Amy Ratcliffe, up there talking with her, and I just thought, this is great. For some reason, it made it all like the circle was now complete when I saw that image. I can't explain it, but it was just really neat.
Oh, that's awesome. She is a very, very cool, very, very sweet lady.
I believe. Well, as are you. And I want to point out something in the intro. I'm assuming you wrote the intro, right?
Yes.
I thought so. Okay, so my favorite thing in here was, and I'm gonna read something that you wrote. So I hope you don't cringe too much. Okay, so Amy writes, I want to share the actions that make me hold a character in awe and excitedly text a friend, can you believe she did that? But also to talk about the quieter moments that help us relate to them. I want to emphasize how everyone makes a difference, whether she's an Imperial officer, a rebel hero, a diplomat, or a mother. We are all part of the story, and we all deserve to have our story told. That, to me, that's it. That's the thesis of this book. It's fantastic, and I think it's also kind of a nice snapshot into your personality too. So I just love that. And then we gotta close with this. How do you feel when you see the cover of this book and it says by Amy Ratcliffe, forward by Kathleen Kennedy?
It's not even like it's real. It's so wild to me, and it takes me a minute, or more than a minute, to process things. So when I found that was found out that was happening on the phone, like, I know I reacted, but I was like, did I convey that I was excited? I don't know if I did, because I was so shocked that I'm just like, okay, Kat, okay, that's cool. When I'm really like inside, like, what is happening? So to see her name by mine and to know she supported the book enough to be willing to put her name on it in that way and write a foreword is incredible. And I really hope I get to meet her one day. I'm saving a spot in my book to get her autograph, to get her to
for sure.
So hopefully one day, because that is not something I could have I ever imagined happening.
Well, I mean, it's not legitimately not a surprise. You work so hard and you're passionate and you're authentically yourself. All fantastic things. This, everybody, is a great book. If you haven't already pre-ordered it or went into your favorite bookstore and found it, you need to do so. Star Wars Women of the Galaxy is a tremendous book. And Amy, you are, of course, always welcome to come on the show. We love your work on Nerdist, on Lattes with Leia, stars.com. Keep on being awesome, and thank you for this great book.
Thank you, and thank you so much for all the kind words. I hugely appreciate it.
Amy Ratcliffe, ladies and gentlemen, always great to hear from Amy. Let's go ahead and take another break. When we come back, I will share with you some clips from our Star Wars Reads Day live event with myself and Tom Gross, where we share our top 5 favorite Star Wars books. This is Coffee with Kenobi.
This is Vanessa Marshall, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi.
As we get closer to Christmas, this is now November, hard to believe, but we know that we're going to be even more busy than usual, if you can even imagine that, which is why convenience is paramount to what we do in our daily lives. We want to make things easier. We want to make things streamlined, but we want to keep that quality, which is why I love Harry's Razors. They stand behind the quality of their blades, and they know that switching razors is not an easy decision, and they have created a trial offer for you. You can claim yours by going to harrys.com/CWKFamily. I love the closeness of the shave. As I said last week on the show, I still have a beard, but I still need to trim and keep things looking well groomed. And Harry's Razors does a great job of that with the glide of their razor and the trimmer blade that they have on the top of each one. Harry's was fed up with overpaying for expensive razors with unnecessary features, and they know that a great shave comes down to great blades made with sharp, durable steel that lasts. And that is why they have bought a factory that's been making some of the highest quality blades in the world for over 95 years. By selling directly to you over the internet, Harry's can offer their blades at a price much lower than the leading brand, just $2 per blade compared to $4 or more. You have a quality guarantee with Harry's. If you don't love your shave, let Harry's know within 30 days and they will give you a full refund. Let me share with you the details of this trial offer. Get a $13 value trial set that comes with everything you need for a close, comfortable shave. A weighted ergonomic handle, 5-blade razor with a lubricating strip and trimmer blade, rich lathering shave gel, and a travel blade cover. Listeners of my show can redeem their trial set at harrys.com/CWKFamily. Make sure you go to harrys.com/CWKFamily to redeem your offer and let them know I sent you to help support this show.
All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Star Wars Reads Day. We are to first welcome you all. We are ready to start our podcast recording with Coffee with Kenobi, so I'm going to turn it over to Dan Z of Coffee with Kenobi.
Hey, hello everybody. Welcome to Coffee with Kenobi. We are your spoiler-free place for Star Wars discussion, analysis, rhetoric, and the best travel tips this side of the galaxy. Can everybody hear me okay? All right, good deal. It's great to have everybody here. It's a bit of an overcast day, but it's not a bad day. It's a good day to do Star Wars Reads Day. One thing about live things is that you have to be ready to think on your feet, don't you, Thomas?
That's right, you do.
Oh, that one doesn't work.
We'll try this one.
Oh, that one's good. All right. Okay, good deal. Good. And we're actually going live online as well through Blog Talk Radio, which is really exciting. This is actually something I've never done before.
It's all about trying new things at Star Wars Reads Day.
Exactly.
I hope everybody's having a great time so far.
You can actually call into the show 323-870-3310. How about that?
That sounds awesome. I hope we get some calls.
It sounds very fancy. Yeah, we would love to chat with you and see what you think about Star Wars Reads Day. Talk about some of your favorite Star Wars books. In fact, that's kind of the special thing about today. What we are doing is we were discussing our favorite Star Wars books, and then that's kind of a big topic, isn't it?
That is a big topic, and I remember we were talking earlier about maybe we should break this down into categories, but we're just going all the way.
We're just going for broke all the way. Yeah, and I see a number of Star Wars fans out there in attendance that probably would like to contribute to our little list. All right, well, as I said, we are live on Blog Talk Radio, which is really great. You can call in at 323-870-3310 if you want to get your thoughts in here on Star Wars Reads Day. At Star Wars Reads Day today, Mr. Gross has done an amazing job. You know him as Tom Gross because he is your CWK newsman.
That's right. Hello, everybody.
And it's one thing about hosting an event like this, it's very, very crazy, isn't it?
It is. There's so much that goes into an event like this, and it takes so many great people to volunteer, to give up their time for an awesome event like this, and we're looking forward to the crowds that keep coming in this morning, and just for some Star Wars fun. And one of my favorite parts of an event like this is when we get to read to kids, and we'll have some people reading to kids, and I think we're going to try to get our first reader on the show here in a little bit, Will Crouch. He's a busy guy, that's for sure, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, so much goes into an event like this, and I just thank all of the volunteers that we've had. And Dan, you being here this morning is awesome for this. And we've got the 501st Imperial Garrison here. I see an AT-AT trooper, a speeder. Why can't I get it out now?
Biker Scout.
A biker scout here. Got some Mandalorians, some Jedi. This is really cool. Really great photo ops, by the way.
Yeah, a very great photo ops. The great thing about Star Wars Reads Day is, as you mentioned, you can celebrate literacy, and that's ultimately what this is about. When you read, you get your mind to think about the world in different ways, and Star Wars has so many options for that because there's so many Star Wars books.
There are, and the best part is you've got a character for everybody. You know, if you don't relate to one hero or villain, you might relate to another, because the Star Wars galaxy is, as it sounds, a whole galaxy of characters, of stories, of planets, from everything from science fiction to even some very reality-based stories. And so it's a great way to dive into reading. And as we know, the more we read, the bigger our vocabulary gets, the smarter we become. And if Star Wars is the ticket to loving reading, then you just go for it.
Oh, look at this. Thank you very much.
Oh, awesome.
501st just dropped off some wonderful trading cards for us.
Ooh, I love it.
We've got, speaking of the 501st, let's hear it for the 501st. They do an amazing job around the galaxy. Yes. If you're not aware, the 501st is a costuming organization that does so much more than you might even realize. Yes, they make and create their own costumes, and they are authentic and amazing. You can see them at premieres of movie events. You can see them, of course, at Star Wars Reads Day. You can see them at things for St. Jude. What they do is they raise money.
You know, it's a great cause to raise money for. I was just, while you were talking, sorry, I was distracted at all of the fun they're having over on the pin the restraining bolt on the droid game. Sorry, so I was listening halfway because I was enjoying their incitement over there.
No problem. No, it's true. It's hard to. The thing about this is you get to multitask because you got to worry about social media, you got to do the show, you got to make sure Zach's behaving, all that kind of good stuff. Zach, of course, is the official owner of the official comic book shop of Coffee with Kenobi. That would be Zeke's Comics and Games.
That's right.
That's right. It's a great place.
Not only a great place, but it's just great stuff. You've got awesome games like Star Wars Legion. Zeke introduced me to Star Wars Destiny, which I just absolutely love that game.
We did play that one. What was that, last spring, right?
That's right.
Caleb, you were there.
Yeah. We that was a great time doing that game. But Zeke's any local game and comic shop is going to do great work for you to help you connect you with great comics that fit your style, as well as great games that you might not find other places. And so those are definitely places to check out.
Another great thing about today is you mentioned the games. You have a trash compactor over there. Tell me about that.
We do. We've got an area, a little. What is that? An alcove, little area that we've got blocked off, and we just threw clean fill. I will tell you, clean fill, paper and boxes, and then we've got tiny little stuffed Darth Vader, Yoda, a little stormtrooper that you have to dive into and look for. Now, there are some decoys. When you're in that trash compactor, you don't want to be grabbing the Dianaga. He's in there, so you got to watch out. But but I will say it does not collapse on you. You don't have to worry about getting the long pole and trying to wedge it in there and jimmy it in there. But no, the trash compactor was a game that we brought in last year and was a big success. So we've got that going. Hey Dan, we've got some early bird prizes. You want me to give some early bird prizes away?
Yeah, let's do some early bird prizes. In the meantime, we have Will Crouch here. Everyone, of course, knows Will Crouch. He does the best announcements during the school day. I think that's fair to say.
Thank you very much.
It's true. And I've known Will ever since he was a freshman.
About 4 years.
That's right. You were in the pack that I was in, and I knew right away that you were a huge Star Wars fan. Tell me about your history with Star Wars.
Well, I really grew up with it. I think I was about 5 when I saw Return of the Jedi, so I kind of got the ending ruined for me, but that really started off the love for Star Wars that I had, and then I got to see Clone Wars. I got to see Obi-Wan and Anakin in action. I got to see incredible voice actors like James Arnold Taylor, Matt Lanter, D. Bradley Baker. They're all amazing.
And Tom Kane, of course.
Oh yeah, Tom Kane. Tom Kane is definitely my favorite to do.
Your idol.
Basically, because he just has the best radio announcer voice in the world.
He really does. He does the Oscars at times too.
Oh yeah, it's incredible.
Let's hear your Tom Kane. We need to hear your Tom Kane.
Okay, I gotta find something to read for that.
How about anything?
All right, we'll read this schedule for the day. At 11:50, the final door prize drawing and game prize drawing. And we hope you are able to attend and become inspired to read a great story for Star Wars.
How about that? Yes, he's awesome. He's awesome. I think I could pass this audio along to Tom. I think he would get a kick out of that.
Oh, goodness, that would be scary.
Yeah, no, that would be pretty cool. So, before we let you go, because I know you're going to do some reading for some of the children here, which is amazing, because that's what Star Wars Reads Day is all about. Tell us some of your favorite Star Wars books.
Some of my favorite Star Wars books. Okay, so I grew up in a small-town library, and they had a lot of graphic novels for Star Wars, as well as a couple of chapter books. So I'd say... as far as like full-on novels, I really love the book. It came out a little more recently, Kenobi. I really love
John Jackson Miller.
Yeah, it was really amazing just to kind of have that story of that in between episodes 3 and 4 and getting to see what he was doing and his thoughts. And also, I believe there was the graphic novel Dark Empire, where Luke actually turns to the dark side to
Non-canonical.
Oh yeah. Thank you. You're getting all the extra facts for me, and it's amazing. But that's all those stories are really great, and also the Thrawn trilogy, Last Command, all the stuff like that. That really kind of helped me build up my love of Star Wars, just because it's this extra universe that's going on like past the episodes, and it's amazing. And even though they're not canon anymore, it's like they still happen to me, and it's all right.
That's right. The Legends line is equally as important as the canonical line because it helped to shape generations of Star Wars fans and our idea of characterization and what it means for these characters. So very, very good. And hey, are you taking mythology in the spring?
I am not taking mythology, sadly. I'm actually taking composition.
Oh, I know that teacher too.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, good. Well, maybe we'll see you then. And in the meantime, you have an open invite to come on Coffee with Kenobi anytime, sir.
Oh, thank you. That would be amazing. Truly an honor.
You bet. My pleasure. Hey, it's Will, everybody. Thanks, Will.
Thank you, guys. I got to go read now.
All right, so there's someone else who is here with us that has been on Coffee with Kenobi a number of times. He certainly has an in with the program. It is my son, Mason Z. Say hi, Mason.
Hi.
Let's hear from Mason Z. All people are clapping for you. How about that? So tell us some of your favorite Star Wars books that we read.
The Empire Strikes Back.
The Empire Strikes Back, the Golden Book. What's your favorite about that?
They jump in the Millennium Falcon and get away from Darth Vader.
Oh yes, when they jump in the Millennium Falcon and get away from Darth Vader, that is a good scene. Do you like that one that we read the other night where different people talk about their different emotions? Yeah. What are some of the things they have in that book?
I forget.
You forget? Let me give you a hint. How about happy?
Happy.
And what's the one where Kylo Ren is angry? What does his face look like? Ooh, I hear Star Wars music. Hey, do you want to go over there and listen to Will read a Star Wars book? It's pretty good. This morning we were driving over here. Before that, you were telling me about how Darth Vader only told the truth one time. When did he tell the truth?
When he told Luke that he was his father.
I remember that. Yeah, why do you think he did that?
Because he didn't want Luke to be scared.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, hey, Mason, thanks so much for being back on Coffee with Kenobi, buddy. Quick transition to go to our next break. When we come back, Tom and I will give our top 5 favorite Star Wars books. This is Coffee with Kenobi.
This is Coffee with Kenobi.
Coffee with Kenobi is brought to you by One Nation Coffee, the official brew of Coffee with Kenobi. I start my morning every single day with One Nation Coffee because it is the best. You can start your coffee subscription so you never miss out on the best coffee in the galaxy by going to www.onenationcoffee.com today. Plus, enter the code KENOBI10, KENOBI10, all one word, to set up a coffee subscription and save 10% off your first order. I mentioned at the top of the show, and it is worth repeating, MEI and Mouse Fan Travel is the way to go for all of your travel needs. They have signature service and expert advice to help clients maximize their vacation time and dollar. They help your family enjoy everything the Disney theme parks and the cruise line have to offer, help plan every detail, and share invaluable tips. And it's not just for the Disney World and Disneyland theme parks. It's also for anywhere you want to go on your vacation. They have been there. They know the best way to get around, the best restaurants, all of it. They are so helpful, and they can get you the best price too. Be sure to go to www.mousefantravel.com today and let them know Coffee with Kenobi sent you. Okay, so the show is actually going by rather quickly, but what we need to do is we need to give our top 5 Star Wars books. Now, this is a tricky conversation because we're talking about myriad different ones. We've got fiction, we've got behind the scenes, we've got books on the art of the films, we've got source books, we've got Ian Desher's wonderful William Shakespeare's books. So we've got a lot to choose from. But so, oh my goodness. So I'm doing this one off the cuff because I just sort of, sometimes I think better that way. I look over to my right and Tom has all the books actually here, so it's going to be show and tell. I like it. All right, Tom.
Oh, you know it.
Let's do it. Go ahead. What's your first one?
All right. My first one is a kind of a categorical book because I'm going with the DK series of books. Now I happen to bring the Force Awakens visual dictionary, and
is that Pablo?
Pardon?
Is that Pablo? Yep.
Yeah, yep. And the reason I brought this one, first of all, I love all of them because they're so informational. But I brought this one because this is the one we poured over and over and over because it's the, it was Force Awakens. We wanted to know so much about what was going on at that time. So that's my first one.
I like it. Well, my first one will be the one that sort of started a lot of this for me. Will talked about it. The Kenobi by John Jackson Miller was a great one. I remember when Mason was first born, I read that book. It was one of the first books we reviewed for Coffee with Kenobi. We got to have John Jackson Miller on the show, and he's been on a couple times since then. And I like, as he mentioned, that it fills in some gaps, shows us more of a side of Kenobi. He does some great stuff with the Force and lightsabers we hadn't seen before. He actually faces off against a crate dragon. So that's a really good one.
Yeah. I'm assuming this is good practice for celebration.
It is.
The distraction. Isn't Will? Will is so hard to compete with. He does such a great job. Number two is the Star Wars: The Adventures of Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight with illustrations. This is why I chose it. Illustrations by Ralph McQuarrie. I mean, I can't. I have to say, I don't even recall reading the book, other than the pictures just blew me away.
Yeah, it's Tony. The last name is Lizzie. I think that's correct. I apologize, Tony, for not saying your name correctly. It's got those wonderful images that we've seen for years from Ralph McQuarrie, where he helped create the look and the feel, the atmosphere of Star Wars besides John Williams, and it's a wonderful book. Good call.
Yeah, some of those pictures in there remind me of that set of trading cards. Remember they did the Ralph McQuarrie trading cards? A lot of those are in this book. It's phenomenal.
That's a good one. My second one is A.N. Escher's Star Wars Shakespeare series. I'll go with the first one just because that's the one that started all. It was a blockbuster, a New York Times bestseller. Ian, of course, has been on the show a number of times. He was almost here this year, but it just didn't work out. But maybe someday. He's a wonderful guy. The fact that he's able to take iambic pentameter and blend it into the Star Wars galaxy, and it fits. When I first heard about this, the teacher in me was a little bit skeptical and said, oh, come on, this is a pretty big task. I don't know if that can be done. I wonder if he's going to do it correctly. Not only did he do it correctly, but he blew it out of the park. So that's definitely my second one.
I will say that is an honorable mention on my list. So that was a hard one to pass up on. So my number three is somehow they got out of order there, sir. My third one is Terry Brooks' novelization of The Phantom Menace, Episode 1. I love this book, and what I love so much about it are the parts that are not in the film. The first several chapters of this book never appear in the film. And the scene that I'm talking about, and I'm sure you'll remember, is when Watto sends Anakin out into the desert to collect droids from the Jawas. And on the way back, he encounters an injured Tusken Raider. And what I love about that scene is how much he takes compassion on that Tusken Raider and spends the night and saves him. And I think that's so important to understanding Anakin's character. And I'm shocked at how it didn't make the movie, other than you have to get 2 hours 210 in a movie. But that scene is so important to the understanding of the redemption of Anakin Skywalker at the end of Return of the Jedi. But besides that, Terry Brooks just does a great job of describing the scene or the instances of the Phantom Menace.
Yeah, good. That's a good one. My third one is Darth Plagueis by James Luceno. It's also non-canonical, but you could have fooled me. I mean, it's the Emperor's rise to power. It's Palpatine. We see him with his family, his birth family. We see him turn against them. We see him meet Darth Plagueis. We see him become the nightmare that he is in the galaxy. And the prose is beautifully written. It's a fantastic book.
Nice choice. I like that. As you were talking about that, I realized I think I chose all canon. Although
so far I haven't.
Huh. So my next choice is A New Dawn by John Jackson Miller. I love this one because it's the first stories of Kanan and Hera. I love that it introduces, and I forget what her title is in this, but Ray Sloan.
Is she an admiral in that one?
She eventually becomes admiral, but in A New Dawn, she's a captain.
Captain, that's right.
Yeah. And so we get the origins of her story in this. And it's also the first story that really gives us, I don't know if it's the first story, but it's the first story I read that gave us the environmental impact that the Empire had on the planet system of the galaxy. And so I love that aspect of that story. It brought some reality into the Star Wars universe for me. And so that is my number 2.
I like it. Oh wow! I mean, you're doing this like in order of. Oh, okay. I'm sort of doing that in a way too. In a way. So what I'm doing is I'm doing an Instagram right now of Tom and I doing this live. So look, when you see it, you'll know.
Well, guys, here's a preview of my number 1.
Ooh,
right
I
there.
like it. Okay, so this is my 4th one, right?
Yes.
Yeah. My 4th one is Bloodline by Claudia Gray. I still think it's the best canonical novel. It basically helps to show the very, very, very beginnings of the Resistance. Probably the most powerful part about the book is it shows us how the galaxy discovers that Princess Leia is the daughter of Darth Vader and what that means for her and the way she's discriminated against. And it's a very, very hard, conflicting time because she is the hero for so many people. It's a tricky one, but it's a good one. So that is my number 2.
I love that book as well. Actually, that's the first Star Wars book I ever listened to in audiobook.
Really?
And I forget who the reader of that book is, but it was a fantastically read, and on top of that, just a great read. So great choice. I knew that was going to be somewhere in your top 5.
Oh yeah. My number 1 is going to surprise you.
All right. Well, my number 1 is Tarkin by James Luceno, and this book, I don't know. This book enthralled me from the beginning. I loved how the Emperor put Tarkin and Vader together in this story, and I loved all of the kickback to the Clone Wars because it happens not too long after the Clone Wars. And so I love all of the discussion of the Clone Wars in here. I love that the Carrion Spike is the ship that Tarkin has, and the Carrion Spike shows up in so many different places, from the beginning of the Clone Wars animated series all the way to the Poe Dameron comic series. And so that ship, I'm not going to go so far as to give it the character status of the Millennium Falcon, but certainly it's a ship that has a lot of character to it.
Oh boy!
And so
here we go.
And so I'm stopping there. No, but this is a book that I will definitely. This is a book that I will definitely reread sometime in the near future.
And Randy Thurio did a recent thing on Legends Library where he talked about that book. So that was cool. So my number 1 is the Jedi Masters trivia book by Rusty Miller. It was written in the late 70s, I believe, maybe 1980.
Yeah, that's
and it was a little boy, I think he was 11, and he did a trivia on what he loved, and it ended up being published. And I found my original copy. Before that, Jeff McGee, of course, from Comics with Kenobi and so many other things, he bought me one at Celebration Anaheim, which was an amazing present. And shortly after that, I found my original one, so I had 2 copies. I love this thing. It's actually pretty challenging. We should do some questions of it on the show, but I have so many great memories of sitting back in my station wagon. Yeah, actual station wagon. And
seated backwards?
Basically studying. Yeah, right. Yeah, I did sit backwards. And I was basically studying it. So I knew one day I was going to host a podcast, even though there wasn't even such a thing.
Listening to Coffee with Kenobi, you are the podcast you're looking for. This is.
Before we get to email, I want to thank our CWK sponsors, One Nation Coffee, Harry's Razors, and Mouse Fan Travel. Please support them the way they support our podcast. And remember to listen to new and archive shows of Coffee with Kenobi wherever you listen to podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Podcast Addict, Stitcher, Spreaker, Overcast, Blog Talk Radio, Player FM, or our website, www.coffeewithkenobi.com. And if you listen to the show through iTunes, please leave us a review. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest, and Tumblr, and would love for you to check us out there. Also, be sure to listen to our CWK family of shows, including Legends Library, Rebels Reactions, Comics with Kenobi, and Lattes with Leia. Please leave a review for each of their shows as well. Be sure to subscribe to each of them individually, as they all have their own feeds now.
So that about does it, huh?
That's my stack of top 5.
That's pretty good. This has been a really quick show. Hello, everybody on Instagram. Thank you for joining us. We've had a good time. We had some bugs with our first live show on Blog Talk Radio, so we're going to do some digging on that. But we try to do things on the fly sometimes and just sort of see what happens. Sometimes I think that's most fun. I like thinking on my feet personally. But it has been great joining each and every one of you for Star Wars Reads Day. Earlier in the show, you heard my conversation with Amy Ratcliffe with her brand new Star Wars book, and that's a great book that you're going to have to be sure to go out and check out. We're going to be talking about it a lot more on the show. Thank you so much for joining us on Coffee with Kenobi, everybody.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.
There's no one here. Move along.